Welcome everyone to the Expanding Consciousness Roundtable podcast. This is our very first one. So thank you for joining us as we explore the depths of consciousness and bring over a century of collective wisdom to the table here today. Each month, you will be joined by us, your hosts, which is me, Gina Noetica, Mandy Horton, Ginny Jones, Ivy Megan. We all come together to share our insights and our practical tools and spiritual guidance for navigating life's challenges and opportunities. In this episode, we're going to be diving into a few different topics, some of the hot topics that have been discussed at the moment, such as the sightings of UAPs or UFOs in the sky. Are they man-made or are they genuine? We will discuss that. We'll talk a little bit about the spiritual significance of the summer solstice coming up, around finding balance and connection during this festive season, and also around how we may set powerful intentions for an inspired and conscious new year that's coming our way. So we are all here gathered together to answer your questions. So please, if you have questions, write those in the comments so that we can answer them as we go along, especially in our next roundtable. And we want to explore the current events that are happening right now through a spiritual lens. We want to create space for many meaningful conversations that expand our awareness and elevate our human experience here. So grab a cup of tea. I've got mine. Find a little quiet space and join us as we do this together. Thank you. So I'd like us to go around and just introduce ourselves. And Mandy, would you mind taking over the mic now and letting us know a little bit about yourself?
Sure. And thanks, Gina, for this opportunity. And hello to everyone out there. I'm Mandy Horton. I live in the North Island of New Zealand, and I'm a cellular memory practitioner, author of a book called Simple Harmony, which is I've created a method around what the book implies, which is a pattern that runs through families, and it's determined on where you're birthed in your family, as to whether you're firstborn daughter, second son, etc. I have been and am a pioneer of this ascension process that we're in here on the planet. And I work in the energetic field of those in their light bodies, assisting any type of growth or expansion. Also working with a collective of healing masters that have trained to be able to assist us here in the physical from the realm of spirit, and many other things. But that's basically where I'm at. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mandy. And Ivy.
Hi, I'm Ivy Megan, and thank you to Gina for the invitation to join this roundtable. It's a real honour to be here working with these awesome ladies and bringing, some expansion and consciousness and guidance to our spiritual community. I'm a medicine woman. I'm a shamanic priestess. I'm also a First Light Flowery Essences of New Zealand practitioner. My main forte, as an umbrella term, I just help people step into the best versions of themselves. I'm also a co-writer in Freddie Silver's latest book called Portals, where I speak about my experience at the Kaimanoa Forest. And yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Beautiful. Thanks, Ivy. And Ginny.
Hi. Well, I've done lots of training, and even though I do connect in and follow my training, sometimes my healing has developed. So I'm a healer, a psychic, I'm a mediumship. I would call myself an ambassador for spirit because I do whatever needs to be done and what I'm called to do. I also feel I'm an ambassador between our ET friends and humanity as well, because I also work with those beings on a healing level. I was taught by a bluish grey being many years ago the energetics of the human body and what I could do by putting my fingers into the aura and moving around energy and using sound with my voice also. So I was taught lots of that. And yeah, I literally will I do a lot of clearing of lost souls and things like that. There's a lot of that happening at the moment, because I think the frequency of the earth has risen up so much that even they're finding it difficult. So yeah, I just do what spirit need me to do. But my main thing is readings and healing and group work. I facilitate ET contact groups here from my home, and they always turn up, which is much gratitude for that. And yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Gorgeous. That's lovely. Thank you so much. And a little bit about me. So I'm Gina Noetica. I've been born intuitive and working in this space kind of professionally since around 2001. Done many different studies along the way, but the primary thing that I'm known for is my quantum energy alchemy, which is a type of energy healing. And it's always been directed from my connection to, the higher intelligence. So it's always evolving, it's always changing. Every time someone comes to me for a healing, it's always very individual, which is why I kind of don't say that it's a specific kind of method or it looks a certain way, because it changes all the time, right? So that's my primary mode that I do. I'm also a Reiki master teacher. I feel like there's a lot of value in Reiki in terms of it being a process, that people can learn quite easily and simply for self-healing. And I am absolutely, I feel very connected to our galactic and family and friends, and also to contact groups as well. I feel like they're all around us all the time, and if you're not aware of it, then come join one of our contact circles. It's a pretty amazing feeling when you can feel the expansiveness, and you really realize that as a human race we are not alone. There is so much more diversity out there. And yeah, that's probably enough about me. But once again, if there's anything you'd like to know about us as individual practitioners, please just place it in the comments, because we'll get back to you and let us know a little bit more about what we do and don't do. So I'm really excited tonight. I almost don't know where to start, because there's lots of things that we can explore. I would like to start with, I think, the ETs, because that feels in my mind kind of like the loudest conversation that I seem to come across at the moment for the last couple of weeks seems to be about all the sightings we have seen around the world. People are asking almost daily, are the drones or the UFOs or the UAPs, depending on the terms that we use, that we see in the sky around the world, are they real, genuine, intergalactic, interstellar craft, or are they man-made, or a bit of both? What is it? So I have to say it was quite funny, because I just recently last week came out of my school camp with my kids, or I should say not school, because they're actually home educated, but we have a camp at the end of the year where we all get together for a week. And a lot of these sightings I missed because I was not on my phone. And then I got out of school camp and my inbox was filled with, is this real? Is it not? What's going on? So let's explore that. Is there anyone that would like to put their hand up first and kind of delve into that topic a little bit? Yeah, Ginny.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as we've said, there's sightings going on all over the place. Europe, America, UK. I did hear the other day that New Zealand was also mentioned, and Australia as well, sightings. My thoughts are that majority of them are human-made, to plug fear, to gearing up for this false flag ET invasion event that they have been planning. And I think they've done it now because they've done it before Trump actually gets signed in, to really stir things up, to keep the fear going, and which it seems to be working in a lot of places, creating fear. Having said that, I think, because we know our friends are extremely watching what's going on down here, can even read our thoughts, can read our energy signatures of our bodies and everything. I actually feel that the true contact has ramped up over the last 3 weeks. So that's what I've found. Because even in our groups, we're seeing a lot of activity, and also different sort of crafts that are showing up as well, like pulses of light that are coming out and coming back in. And not last week, the week before, two of us in the group saw a it was almost like an oblong, and it was so quick. The flash of light was so quick, but it was 2 rows of lights. Never seen that before. And it was big. It was really big up there. Yeah, and last night, we had group last night, there were flash bulbs going off all around us and plasma. They weren't really, like orbs really show up almost solid, but plasma. These were like opaque plasma craft that sort of one lot sort of came up and then split off and went 2 ways. So I feel that our friends, now all this hype has gone, our friends are actually now coming out a little bit more, and so some people are probably seeing actual ET, but because they can now, because of all this hype going on, they can actually come out and show themselves a bit more. And I think what's going to happen is that this false flag event is actually going to wake a lot more people up to that in a good way, because whenever they tend to do something, it backfires on them, and a load more people wake up, and humanity, the light in humanity grows stronger. Put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's my thoughts.
Yeah.
What I've been sensing and witnessing too is the drones are man-made. They're from military. We know that there's a lot of use in the sense of hologram. Twin Towers, that plane was a hologram. It was not actually going into the building. It was all a hologram. So there's all that, but the orbs that are coming in with these drones, the drones are actually, from what I've seen, spraying, and they're talking about another virus that's going to be spread through this. And I just saw a reel actually of one of these drones actually spraying this stuff, whatever it was. And the orbs, there was one also that actually took out one of these drones. Now, whether that was all part of a hologram, who knows actually. But also, I believe I do feel that the councils, the high realm councils, are actually trying to prevent this next pandemic-y, whatever it might be, they're trying to create. And I feel that they are trying to step in and stop. The other thing is the higher realms also are quoting that our galactic brothers and sisters are not actually going to come in until around the 2028 to 30. And they'll actually show up in public arenas where we're looking at parliament buildings, and they're going to be right there where people cannot deny. So, and right in the face of those who are trying to prevent it all or hide it or play around with it. So, yeah, I've always seen so much activity at night time in the skies so many times for years and years. And I've had them actually in my healing room with clients on the table. I've had the galactics standing in the room with us, and all sorts of different shapes and forms of ET. So they've been with us for a very long time, but to actually land a ship in front of us in the physical and step out of the door and onto our land is going to be something that's going to, I think, rock the world in a big way. But all this hype around right now is to actually put people into fear. They're trying to create another fear program to keep people involved in not evolving, but still clicking into all that fear and backtracking a bit within their own evolution. So, yeah, it's a game. It's still another big part of their game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And Ivy, did you have anything you wanted to add into that?
Certainly. I remember, I want to sort of go back to a story of mine on my own personal journey with more sort of open contact. Was I think it was about, I want to say 5 years ago, my former husband, well, husband at the time, and I were standing in the kitchen at our farmhouse, and we were just talking, and I felt something fly really, it was whatever it was a massive object, flew really low over our house. And without looking outside or, you know, trying to prove anything, I just automatically said, that felt like a craft going over the top. And he goes, it did, didn't it? Because he's quite open to this kind of thing as well. But I didn't have to look outside to see if I could see it. I just knew that there was something out there. And now I live here in Norsewood under the Ruahine Ranges, and it's very, very magical. I'm so close to my medicine, it's incredible. And on any given day, I can be just here in my tiny house, just doing my thing, and I'll get this telepathic message about something going on outside. And I'll just go, I'm always going to the window, watching, looking outside to see if I can see anything. And I'll get an inkling that I have to go look outside, and I'll look outside, and sure enough, the clouds in the sky, there'll be all the normal fluffy clouds, and then you'll get these, you know, kind of orby, you know, saucery shaped clouds. Sometimes the cigar ones, sometimes they're great big long rectangle ones. And I just instinctively know to look outside, and yep, there they are. And I can tell, because I've learnt the art of discernment around what's BS and what feels true to me, because I know that for me, truth has a certain vibration. And looking out and knowing to look outside at that precise moment, and seeing what I'm seeing. Sometimes I don't even see lenticular clouds, but I just know that they're there because I can feel the energy is different in that given time. It's it kind of, in a way, makes me feel a little bit discombobulated. So I go a little bit, well, not a little bit, a lot between worlds. So I've got a foot of many worlds at that time that they show up. So, but they've shown up here when I've been doing shamanic work, you know, shamanic journey meditations. And I had one just show up just last month to help me with a process that I was working through on myself. An insectoid being that I had not met before. So, yeah, but there's a lot of, I don't spend a lot of time on social media or TikTok or Instagram or anything like that, but because I see a lot of stuff and I just think bullshit all the time. So staying off social media like I have has actually taught me a deeper degree of discernment around this subject. Yeah. And when you, I don't know, I think when you can communicate telepathically with them like we can, they tell you what's what. Yeah, you don't need to be influenced by somebody on social media.
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. Yeah. Thanks, Ivy. Really great points here. I'll speak into a little bit just from my own personal experience, and also just mention that sometimes when we're in the middle of this, you know, like I say, we're in the middle because there's so much disclosure happening right now, and we're not at the end of it, and so we're always just finding out little bits and pieces, and sometimes we take a few steps forward in the truth and then a few steps back, you know, because there's untruths around. When I went to the States at the end of September, and when I went there for the first time, I saw something that, like what you mentioned, Ginny, I saw more of an oval craft that had a pulsating light that kind of rippled out. It's pulsed, paused, pulsed, paused, pulsed, paused. And I saw it kind of like in the sky, and I communicated that with others that were in the circle with me, and there was confirmation that others saw that too. For me, that discernment that came in was, okay, no, I saw that. Others saw that. Great, that's confirmed. But as how my body and my energy field reacted to it, it felt amazing, and it felt like bliss. It's almost a different word, but very blissful. And I had an inner knowing that this energy that pulsated out is going to do something, like some kind of recalibration or something, for weeks. Like, I wouldn't be able to tell you what happens on that night. It's going to take weeks for me to understand what that kind of energy transfer, if I want to call it that, what happened there. I know a few days after that, because that was in Virginia in the United States, and I had taken on my US trip some water from Lake Pukaki, which is actually, Ginny was there at the time when we all stayed at Lake Pukaki for a week, and I'd popped down to the lake and taken a bottle of water. I just knew I had to in that moment. I didn't know the reason for it necessarily at that time, but that bottle of water actually came to the States with me, and I placed it. I was instructed, guided to place it in Capitol Hill. So that Lake Pukaki water specifically went to Capitol Hill, a huge, they've got that huge body of water there. And I saw at Lake Pukaki codes, like, craft come down in codes, like golden codes being infused in the lake and into that water. And the message was, go and put that into the Capitol Hill of Washington. And when I did that, I don't, like I say, I kind of emphasize, you don't always have to know everything, you have to trust a lot, right? So I put the water in, and all I got told was, these codes are important to be around the decision makers, because we are in a time of disclosure, but a lot of untruth as well. And these codes need to be there to anchor in enough truth that hopefully will start to spark the truth knowledge within the decision makers of that country, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I had to really just trust in that. And it's interesting for me now that we've moved on, a few months, and we're starting to see a lot of activity, including over Capitol Hill in Washington. That's been one of the places of sightings. So with that, my hope is that all these decision makers, people that are in, in the government positions, but also in, the military positions and in media, they don't know everything. Sometimes sometimes we might go, oh, that person's lying. Well, it's not maybe that they might not be lying. They just don't know. They just don't know the truth. They may not have been exposed to everything, right? So my hope is that things start triggering within them, that start to awaken them, and they're like, hang on, and they start to follow their own trail and start to actually bring the truth to us through their own profession and their own career and their own avenues. So that's all I've got.
I think yeah, thank you. I actually think that's going to start happening, because you can see it with some of the mainstream media, that there's some people that now are actually stepping out and wanting to say the truth if they are able to, without losing their jobs and everything else. But yeah, I've seen that. And going back to the light, Gina, everything within my cells tells me that there is codes in that light that is coming into your light body, interacting with your light body, activating wisdom and knowledge that is already held within there, that just needs those trigger points to be released. Because over the since I've had ET contact, or just before I had ET contact, so that's probably about 16 or 17 years, I've been getting downloads of what I call light language. And they come at night. And to begin with, it would literally come in as I'd be asleep, I'd be dreaming, and then all of a sudden I'd start seeing these codes being written. And as they were written across in lines, they'd vanish from the top. So I couldn't study them, but it was so right in my consciousness that it would wake me up. So then I'd be awake and I'd have my eyes shut, but I'm still seeing it all carrying on, rows and rows of this light language. Well, that happened for a number of years, and then it started to change. And I know without a doubt that the information that has come in has altered my light body, which has then expanded my healing abilities and my ableness to expand my light body, my heart resonance out a long way. So I know that those codes have altered within my light body and, of course, my DNA, I feel. But But now it comes in, and I'm still getting them now. I even had one like 2 nights ago, and it comes in now with like bright white flashes of light that just goes boom, and it wakes me up, and then another one, boom, you know, and I know that in that light, again, there's more information coming in. I have no idea what that information is on a conscious level, but because it's been happening for so long, I realize over the time that my light body has been altered, my knowledge or my ability, it's not even conscious knowledge, but my healing abilities have grown so much over that period of time. And I know that they're working with me to help heal people and land, everything, in fact, whatever I'm called to help do healing energy on whatever, you know. I mean, I even go along if I see roadkill, because I can't stand seeing animals that have been run over. I know people do it deliberately, but it's just not my thing. And I think these poor little animals, so I open a portal of light over the carcass that I see when I'm driving along, and lift that little soul that's in there up to wherever it needs to go. And I'm constantly doing that every day, wherever I'm driving. That they're in that light. When we see flash bulbs, when we see those pulses that come out and in, and a couple of ground flashes I've witnessed over the years as well, there is light that is interacting with everyone. And another thing that I believe is that everyone who has ET contact, and whether consciously or unconsciously knowing about it, they have clocked their energy signature, so they know exactly where you are on planet Earth, and they can interact with you at any time they want. And also, for everyone listening, I just want you to know that all the ET that I've interacted with, and I'm sure that you girls as well that have interacted with, have been of the highest frequency of love and that beautiful energy of connection and unity. And I've also sensed here, because they do come in our house sometimes, and they tend to turn the TV off to get our notice. And I can sense them because I feel the atmosphere change in the room. And one time this happened, sat on the couch, and John had been out earlier that night, and he came in and he said, "It feels really spooky out there tonight." And I'm going, "Ooh." And yeah, and then the TV went off. We were busy watching something, the TV went off, and I could sense there were 3 beings actually in the room, but away from us, stood there. And so I said to him, "There's actually 3 beings in here." The atmosphere had completely changed in the room in a good way. You know, it was light. But even though my head and my consciousness was going, "Oh my God, this is amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you," I'm going in my head. My body had a reaction, and my body actually went into a bit of fear. And I know it's from when I was a kid and I used to get visited. And this fear in my body, and I'm going, "Nobody, don't, just calm down." And then they literally went away, and I know that proved to me that they don't want to frighten us in any way. So they clocked my body's change, and as soon as that happened, they went away and the TV came back on. So I just want to reassure people, you know, they do not want to frighten us. The real ET do not want to frighten us. They've come here to interact with people that they feel are open or are doing healing work or doing land work or earth work. And they're here to help us, to interact with us, to help activate us for the changes that are coming here on Earth. So that's my thoughts on it. Nothing to fear. The good ones are, you know, and you keep your frequency high and have no fear of that. Keep an open heart, and you're only going to attract those high frequency beings. That's just for everyone to be reassured that they're good, you know. They're not what the governments are trying to portray.
And that's a really great point, because the genuine extraterrestrials and higher intelligent life and interdimensionals as well, they really don't want to put us into fear, and they don't want to create that, for us. They're only going to turn up when we're ready. However, I've been listening to people, especially over the last few weeks, and they're like, but how do we tell? We've just seen the media, we've seen an image, we haven't seen them in real life. These are people that, perhaps are not involved in contact circles, have had no contact experience themselves. They're like, well, how do we know? Like, how do you know? And, my response is just like what you said, Ginny, but also if I'm just purely looking at a media image, like a photograph or a video, if I go into a really neutral space and I'm not listening to the words that are all in the video, I don't really listen to the words, I just look at the image and I tune in through my heart. I try and find a good place of neutrality, and I go into heart coherence, and I breathe steadily and slowly. For maybe 3 minutes, you might need to do that, just to really calm your nervous system down. And I ask, what is it that I'm feeling? What am I experiencing when I'm looking at this image and trying to connect in with the energy behind that image? Now, when I see an image where I'm like, oh, no, that feels man-made, it's because I'm not getting any connection. I'm not really interacting much with them. I'm not getting any knowledge, because I'm clairaudient, so I'm not hearing like knowledge messages coming back to me. Usually the extraterrestrials will usually send me a message that I can hear and I can understand, and there's a knowing, there's something that I can communicate with them. When it's man-made, I don't really get that. I just get either nothing, or I might get a little bit like a, not interested in pursuing that relationship, and so
I'm the same.
Different frequency, for sure.
Yeah.
I think discernment, definitely. You really do have to listen to the body, because the body, like you say, Ginny, even though you were but the body was indicating something different, and it was letting you see where there still might be some fear. But I've helped quite a few people who have had encounters from those who, haven't had the best intentions, say. So again, it is, and each one of them, every time I've said to them, how did it feel when you first came into contact? And they all had this awareness of, hang on a minute, like this, backing up, but went ahead with it anyway. And really, so it is about discernment. It is listening to the body and your awareness, and, heeding that, whatever you might be getting.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely lower vibrational off-world beings and interdimensionals that are visiting. I've also helped many that have had non-human attachments, put it that way. And what I've found is, again, they feed off fear. So the moment that you stand in your power and go, no, remembering that you're in charge of your own being, and go, no, I'm not frightened of you, they literally dissolve and shrink and gone. That's what I found. So to anyone out there, if you're not sure, and a way to stay out of fear and to help your body stay out of fear is literally what you said, Gina, is to come down into the heart. I just say to people, look, if you're feeling fear and you're not sure how to change the thought forms in your mind, think of all of your family that you absolutely love dearly, because immediately, if you picture them all in your mind, that vibration immediately changes, because the love is coming towards you from them. And so that just changes your nervous system, calms everything down, and it also powers you up at the same time, feeling that love vibe within your being. And that puts a lot of not so nice ones off from coming near you at all. Discernment's very good. And learning to traverse the discernment and the energies that you're feeling, and having tools of wisdom to know how to deal with something if you are presented with something. Again, like I've just said, coming down into the body, expanding the heart, thinking of love, thinking of family, immediately expands that vibration. And having a no fear, being in your power. That's just so important right now, to be in your own power, no one else's, sovereign and standing in your truth, in your strength. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lovely segue into perhaps talking about discernment, because you know, we are of course talking about extraterrestrials right now, but let's talk about people and discerning people. And you know, the world of healing practitioners and intuitives is very wide and very vast. And you know, I feel so honored to be at this round table with you all, because I know you've got such a lot of wisdom and decades of experience. You've got life experience, but also professional experience working within your intuitive abilities. But when someone is kind of new to this world, when they might go, hang on, I'm not feeling in my power. Something has wobbled me off my soul alignment, off my course. Maybe I'm unwell. Maybe a relationship problem's happening. I'm not feeling my best. And maybe I'm not able to get back on track through the means that I normally go to, like normally try. And they're opening up to the spiritual, you know, spiritual intuitives and in spiritual realm, and going, how about I go to an intuitive and see if they can get me back on track? But some people go to intuitives who don't have a lot of experience, and although their intention might be good, sometimes, not always, but just sometimes, more harm can happen than healing. And I feel that through my observation, the pool of people that this is happening to is growing a little bit. Maybe it's just my awareness to it, I don't know. But if you found yourself in that situation, you've gone along, you've tried to heal it, and you've realized, actually, I feel either no different or worse off than when I went. What can someone do, you know, when they're already in that wobbly place to begin with? They're not in their power, and that's why they came to someone like us in the first place. What kind of discernment tools can they do? Or, you know, what would you suggest to them?
Well, if you don't mind me going first, I would first of all say give it a few days, because the change, the integration in the body as well can take time for everything to settle down. But if you're still feeling not good afterwards, then it's very difficult. You know, you can seek a reputable practitioner for more help. That's what I would suggest if you don't know what to do yourself. But yeah, that's what I feel, is to begin with, give it some time, because if you've been to it, you know, like there's powerful healers, there's not powerful healers. Sometimes someone can go to a powerful healer, get completely recalibrated, and it can take a couple of weeks for everything to completely settle down and to level out. So that's where discernment comes in, of course, as well. But yeah, I would suggest go and find a reputable practitioner. Tune into your own body as well, and just ask your own body, what do I need? What will make me, what will help me? What will make me feel better? We've all got a soul, and our soul is trying to communicate with us all the time, and your soul is like your compass. So if you can tune in by going into meditation, going into the heart space, and what do I need? What can help me right now? And see what comes. That's my thoughts on it.
Thank you. What do you think, Ivy, or me, or Mandy?
Yep, the first thing I really want to say in there is that everything is perfect. So, you know, according to our frequency, our vibrational frequency and energy that we're you know, projecting out there, we will come into contact with those who are going to help us look at something within ourselves. So if we've taken up, you know, an appointment with somebody and there's been some incident that happened there that hasn't been the best outcome, then it all still comes back to us personally, to you, to that person. So first of all, we'd look at that. And, you know, I'm very passionate about assisting everyone. Everyone, like I just want to assist everyone, but you know, in moving through their patterns and programs that have been through their emotional stuff, you know, their emotional programming, and assisting the freedom, because we came in screaming for freedom, our soul, this lifetime in particular. And so therefore that is part of it too. You know, we will attract to us something that we might need to learn from. So even though it might seem like a bad experience, if we want to judge it in that way, it can also have a lot of gold nuggets to it. And so, you know, I'd say don't throw it out or the baby out with the bathwater. Like Ginny says, you know, allow it to just integrate for a few days and see how it feels. And then if there's something that's niggling, that's sitting, you know, that you haven't been able to work through, then yes, look for somebody who could help you do that. Like, you know, assist people into the body to retrieve memory and emotion connected, to break through those patterns. So something like that, you know, it's always purposeful. Everything is. Yeah.
And Ivy, what do you have anything you'd like to add into that conversation?
Yes, so I'll share my own experience with when I was getting brave to come out more as a psychic medium. I went to it was a spiritual fair in the Manawatu, and I went to a clairvoyant show that was run by this group of people that ran the expo that I went to, and they were running sort of spiritual development circles, and and I thought, great, I can, because I was well and truly in touch with what I could do. I just needed an outlet. I needed somewhere to practice it. So there was a spiritual development circle that was going on that I used to attend once a month. Now back then, it was quite a while ago now that I went to there. I want to say about 10 years ago. And back then I was quite vulnerable. I hadn't started my formal shaman training. I was kind of emerging, you know, I was starting to work up to that. And I was vulnerable and very, a little bit impressionable as well. And there was some people involved with this spiritual development group that had almost like they call it a messiah complex. Mm-hmm. So when somebody is lacking, when going back to the discernment thing, when you don't have the level of discernment to think, you know, is this association going to be beneficial for me? It's very, very easy for people to fall into an association with somebody with perhaps a messiah type complex that can be do more harm than good. So I kind of learned the hard way, but I had to learn the hard way in order to actually recognize it. So, and unfortunately, in some situations, we're in spiritual development type circles, there can be, somebody will be they might go ahead in leaps and bounds and really start flying and becoming confident with their, what they're tapping into and how they're using it. But sometimes there are people who want their ones that they're teaching to stay under them. They don't want their students to step into their power. And I'll tell you what, some students, when they really start stepping into their power and really owning it, it's a threat to the person who's been mentoring them. Mm-hmm. And that's certainly what happened in my case. It was a really awful incident this one night at the circle that we went to, but I never went back to that circle after that, because I had enough of a reaction in me to go, oh, this person's not going to do me any good if I stay in association with them. So that can happen too, and that unfortunately it happens more than what we know. Yes. So protection for those ones that are coming through that are maybe a little bit unsure about the motive behind their mentor or their teacher, because there are a lot of teachers and mentors out there that are just doing it to feel their own egos, So and that's rife, unfortunately, in the spiritual community. So
yeah, it is like that. Absolutely, and I've witnessed so much of that. And a group that was held for 10 years by one person, and they just continually for 10 years got, were sort of undermined, really. They were never self-empowered, and I used to think 10 years, oh my goodness, they're still in this training. Which was just, and when I actually really looked into it, because it intrigued me, I was like, wow, what does this lady teach? It must be lots, but it was actually all about her being the guru. And I say to, everyone, spell guru, G-U-R-U.
And I
We're
think
all
it's
gurus. You're all your own guru.
Yeah. I used to go to, at the beginning of my development, I used to go to a circle, and obviously she could see that a group of us, so it wasn't just me, but a group of us were up and coming and getting more confident and everything like that with what we were doing, healings and readings and everything else. And she used to get to a point where she would email everyone saying, don't come back. That would be it. Yeah, if she felt threatened.
Oh, wow.
She would literally blanket email out to whoever in the group, don't come back. And she did it about 3 times that I know of, in groups that I wasn't even in, for my group that I was in, and then another group after me, same thing. And I'm thinking, whoa. Yeah, and it was gutting at the time, I will say, because you teacher, when you're learning, you kind of rely on them, and to all of a sudden receive an email saying don't come back, it was like, whoa, like a slap in the face. But obviously, like you said just now, Mandy, everything happens for a reason, and that reason is turned out to be a good one in the end.
Maybe it's the divine's way of, when you get something like that, the email saying don't come back. Maybe it's the divine's way of slapping you in the face, going, "Are you listening yet?"
Yeah. And you don't actually need this teacher any longer.
Yeah.
Great point. Yeah, like a humble teacher. Everyone needs a spiritual teacher, here and there. So a humble teacher. I know, like, one thing I really liked within Reiki when I came across it was that Mikao Usui, who's the rediscoverer of Reiki, he has this, remember it's Japanese, so a century ago there was a hierarchy, but he had a hierarchy of the levels of Reiki, but above him was a space, because he always believed someone is going to do Reiki or rediscover the healing method better than him. So there was always a humble expectation that, yes, one day there's going to be a student way better, and more skilled than he is. And whether that space is the universe, or whether it's a student coming up and developing it even further and better. I love that concept, and I will remember to. I'll say, I hope all my students become better than me. That's the point.
I've got many of my students now that are better than me, and for the only part that really hurt me was that when they get to a certain level of their own awareness and empowerment and self-discovery, they don't need the teacher around any longer. And often what I found was that there was a pushing away from, which was not because I'm maybe controlling it or whatever the thing might have been, just purely that I want to do this on my own now, and there's this sort of almost abruptness that comes with that I found a little difficult. It was like, oh, not that I needed to keep teaching them, knowing that they were already where they needed to be and will continue to improve, but just that we'd built relationship, there was such a love in there, and it was this pushing away. It was like, okay, now I just need to get used to that bit, because And then we come back, it's like there's still a coming back to it where it's all good again, but it's just that initial moving away from. Yeah, it's funny. It's a funny thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
And there's so many parallels with this discussion, that goes hand in hand with, ET contact as well. It's the same thing. Sometimes they will visit us from any stage of our life, and there can be a learning or a teaching involved. And once we've got that lesson, they might, drift away. And there might be some space there, and then maybe a while later there might be a different type of ET contact that you get, and there's another learning, and then they'll drift away again. The same thing, if we've got to follow our discernment, with the practitioners that we see here in the real world on Earth, but also follow our discernment with interdimensional and interstellar contact as well. Yeah. So here on planet Earth, we have a calendar system, and some of us follow the Gregorian calendar and some of us don't. We've got a few events coming up. We've got summer solstice here in the southern hemisphere, winter in the northern hemisphere. We've got the festive season, it's Christmas. Some people celebrate Christmas, some don't. And we've also got the new year. So I'd love to delve into some of this. Let's start with the summer solstice. What does it mean to you? Anyone can jump in and go first.
Well, for me, I've never been a ritual girl, just never. It was a very strong thing within me, and knowing that ritual can keep us bound, into certain this, and that I wasn't to do it this lifetime. And so I have communion, but I don't actually do a regular, routinely type of, ritualistic thing. So I don't actually get into much of the timelines around solstice or, anything like that. The Lion's Gate was also something that I just didn't really ever get into. I'm noticing energetically things shifting though. And that for me is because what I'm recognizing is that everyone, not everyone, but lots and lots are putting their energy towards something like they will be on for solstice, and therefore it's creating quite a frequency. So it's starting to really move things. So these are becoming like our stepping stones, basically. They're opening opportunity for us to step through into a high frequency again. It's like activating something in that. So that I enjoy. But other than that, that's as far as it goes for me. Yeah.
I'm very similar to that, Mandy. I've not been one for major ceremonies. But funnily enough, this one coming up, I have got an inner push to do something, but it is for another reason, which the reason I sussed out a New Year's Eve a few years ago. So when the collective of humanity celebrates something, because obviously there's solstice, there's a lot of us or a lot of people that are celebrating that all over planet Earth in their own way, however way that is for them. It raises the frequency right up, and then also makes it a lot easier to connect with interdimensional beings. And that's what I absolutely love. I'm even in a physical mediumship circle once a week. So I love that connection with other realms, other beings, and all that. So I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but I have organised for this Friday a public skywatch in a domain near where I live. If the weather's bad, then obviously I'm going to call it off. But and I picked the solstice because the energy will be up there. It's going to make it a lot easier for us and them to connect in a deeper way. And I sussed this out a few years ago when John and I, on New Year's Eve, John and I went to a local do in someone's house, and then we left early and we came home, and it was a cloudy night actually, and we decided to go and sit outside and do our own little sky watch. and with a drink. We sat outside on the deck with a drink, and there was quite a lot of low cloud, and sat there for a while. I didn't even do a connection meditation or anything like that. We just sat there talking, and all of a sudden these lights appeared the other side of the clouds and started dancing around all over the place. And, you know, first of all, you look to see if there's anybody with a high beam torch, you know, doing it. So you've got to discern whether it's human or whether it's something else. So that's what we did. We couldn't see any beams. And the fact that it was shooting really quickly, miles down over the sea that way, and then all of a sudden shoot up right the way over the Kaimais that way, really quick, several of them. And we knew that the lights were for the other side of the clouds. So that there must have been crafts or orbs darting around all over the place up there. And then I really thought about it the day after. I sat there and I thought, that was actually a lot of contact. And they were visual as well. You know, they weren't very far above us. And I thought it's because the collective of humanity. It was New Year's Eve. Most people are celebrating. So the joy that is all over planet Earth on New Year's Eve, mostly, I'll put, on New Year's Eve and Christmas, the frequency of humanity had risen right up at that point. So it was making it so much easier to bring those channels together. And so, yeah, that's why I am now doing a thing on the solstice, and we'll do something, obviously Christmas and also New Year's Eve. We'll be sitting outside and calling our friends in. Yeah.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
How about you, Ivy? What does it mean to you?
I'm kind of on the same page as Mandy and Ginny with the solstice, you know, Beltane, Samhain, that kind of pagan, you know, Wicca observed events. I don't usually do anything for the solstices or anything like that, although I have done in the past. So for me, ceremony is a huge part of my journey as a shaman. There are certain times of the lunar month, there are certain rituals and ceremony that I must do as part of my path. And that's enough in itself. You know, that's pretty much part of my life is ritual and ceremony. But certainly around the winter solstice, summer solstice, Christmas Day, the astrologically, I don't know a heck of a deal about the bigger picture esoterically, but there are certain astrological kind of factors that come into that the energy is heightened, and people, whether they know it or not, they're tapping into that frequency. You know what I mean? So it's not a case of humanity doing it and then the universe responding. It's humanity responding to what's going on in the universe. Yeah, they feel it without knowing what it is. And particularly around Christmas Day, you know, a lot of people get really excited about Christmas Day and they go all crazy and decorate their house and buy lots of gifts, and they do Christmas how they want to. But there's actually a very powerful and significant portal that peaks on Christmas Day, and then it, you know, dissipates again. And a lot of people kind of pass that off as, thank God Christmas is over for another 364 days of the year, you know. But what they're not realizing on a deeper scale is that the portal has peaked on that day and it's then waning. And so they're thinking, oh, thank goodness, you know, no more scorched almonds, no more having to massive Christmas dinners and cheating at cricket in the backyard after lunch sort of thing for another 364 days. Yeah, so New Year is a funny one for me. As a young woman, I used to celebrate New Year's Eve with my friends because, you know, I partied and that's what we did, and we always did something on New Year's Eve. But for many years now, it's felt strange to me that whole, it just, I don't know, the discernment around it had changed. And for me now, the new year feels more significant in the middle of the year around Matariki, around June. Yeah, it just, I don't know, there's a different energy around that. Yeah.
See, I have something in around February for me. Every time February for me is New Year. And I love the New Year energy, actually, and people putting their New Year resolutions out there. And because it's such a heightened time, everybody's celebrating, it's like they're really activating that energy of those intentions. And I really love that. I think that's, they might not all come into fruition or anything, but I feel that it really buffs people into, okay, this is new, it's almost like the reset. If we want to use it, because it's really just a continuation. We don't actually have a new year as such, energetically. It's a continuation. But to mark it like that, for me, it's always been like a reset, and that I like.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I think go.
Sorry, Gina.
Oh, you go. Sorry.
I think for me, why my thought, my sort of discernment around the what feels like more of a new year for me is, ever since I've been on this particular shamanic path, we're working in the mystery school with the Black Goddess. So, the goddess is the portal to life here on earth, and that's, the Matariki is when it is believed that, the star mothers come down. So that's why it's more, I think it's more, it resonates more with me at that time of the year because of the particular work that I'm doing the work in the Black Goddess. Yeah.
Well, I like Matariki too. It's got a different energy to it. Yeah. That celebration, it's a really light energy, I feel. Yeah, and an uplifting one too. Yeah, I feel that too in June. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, International Fairy Day is on the 24th of June, and whenever there's fairy energy, to me it's very childlike and very light and joyous, which is kind of similar to when we connect with the Patu Paerehi, when we're doing CE5. I know whenever they're around, I just feel like being a big kid. So even more of a big kid than what I do now,
And for our global listeners as well, who may not know what Matariki is, it's our Māori New Year, and it's around end of June, is that right? End of June in New Zealand. We usually celebrate it over a week, although, because it's a phase, it's when we can see the Palladian star system at a certain point, like above our horizon in the sky, and that for us marks when the Matariki New Year time happens. And it's usually a time that is around the harvest. Well, there's significance around the harvest too, isn't it? Others may know a little bit more about that. But the Pleiades, they have 9 sisters. We call them the 9 sisters. And and I don't know if here in New Zealand, we're fortunate. We're quite starting to become more educated about Matariki. But does anyone want to speak into it a little bit more for those that aren't familiar with it?
No, you've just done it. But yeah.
Mandy.
No, you go. Yeah.
I have very limited knowledge about Matariki from a Māori perspective, but I'll tell you an interesting story. So when I got married in 2013, we had our honeymoon in Tahiti on Moria Island, and there was some beautiful. That place triggered me, but that's another story for another day. There's a lot of, I didn't realize at the time, but there's a lot of very strong Lemurian energy still linked with Tahiti. And cut a long story short, we met a lovely guy in the lobby of our hotel who was selling these beautiful hand-painted sort of tapestry things that he had made. And he sold me this one. In fact, I've got it on my wall above my altar. it's got turtles, these turtles, and these kind of like these godlike figures, you know, like this, and there's a goddess, and he explained to me. I was kind of only half by listening, but I remember the guy saying to me at the time, "Oh, those are the turtles, are representation of these star mothers when they come down to earth and seeded humanity and stuff like that." And I was like, "Oh yeah," you know, and I was very nonchalant about it all. You know, I was pretty taxed out from getting married and having a trip overseas. You know, I was pretty tired, so I kind of wasn't really listening wholly to what he said. But it wasn't until some years later, you know, because he was talking about how they came to and they seeded humanity, and that's when Lemuria was created. And yeah, and then when I started my formal training as a shaman, I just kind of put this tapestry above my altar. And I was looking at it not that long ago, and I thought, oh my God, it's Matariki. And I just remembered what this guy was telling me. So yeah, it's significant for me for that aspect, yeah, because I have a very strong connection to Lemuria. So that's where it makes sense for me.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've noticed how I celebrate this time of year change throughout my adulthood, and especially in the last few years. I know for myself, about 4 years ago around solstice, I started to do a ritual. Like at sunrise, I would have a cacao, and that's because I started, you know, exploring cacao and really enjoying it. So sunrise, I'd always have my little 20 minutes where I prepare my cacao, and then I go outside somewhere, wherever I am, and really connect in. I've got the dog barking, sorry. But because the last year has been a lot about the waters for me, I asked the waters, what's this time of year about? Like, is there something I need to, you know, tune into and listen to? And it was interesting because the waters said to me that between the dates of the 22nd and the 25th, which is the solstice and what we celebrate as Christmas, is 3 days of light, sunlight, stillness. And because water holds light, it has the ability to hold a lot of light, and it can hold different types of light: sunlight, stellar, cosmic light, light codes, as you know, as we talk about light language, and it also does sonoluminescence and other types of light as well. So it says 3 days of stillness with the sunlight. However, way more activity with the stellar light, like huge cosmic stellar light activity. And it comes in a huge activity flurry because the sunlight is so still for 3 days within the waters. And it's interesting because in the waters always remind me at the end of any messages, remember the waters are just like your consciousness. The waters govern our consciousness. And for me, the message was, and unfortunately it's a little difficult for us as a society, because they said it's a time to be still, because we can have so much chance for this recalibration, all this stellar light, all this cosmic light to come in and to bring so much energy in to realign us to the New Year's resolutions. Not meaning like, you know, the 31st of December, but meaning like over those 3 days, there's so much energy that if we were in stillness and in alignment, we could actually manifest in, you know, intentions for the next phase of our life. But we all know that we're very busy. Most people are busy at this time of year. Everyone's feeling the Christmas rush. So I'm going to be mindful of that, actually, because although I have planned this year to be still, or as still as I can be, you know, between the 22nd and 25th, next year I am. I'm actually going to put a mark through my diary and say, no, this is my time of retreat. It's my time of actually just enjoying the energies on earth and really getting this manifestation right, you know, because I want the next chapter to bring in all sorts, whatever comes to mind at that point in time.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah,
that's great. Without consciously being aware of that, I've actually booked for a workshop on Monday. I'm going to be facilitating it, to clear out the old 2024 energy and to bring in the 2025. And I had no idea about that, Gina. So I'm very, very happy about that. So that's on Monday. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, great timing.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, well, thank you so much. So we've just gone past the hour. What I'd really love to do is, if there's anything you'd like to tell our audience, if you've got something coming up that they can participate in, or anything like that, just let them know.
I've got Monday that I've just mentioned, but next year I've kind of got the nudge to do my work a bit different. I'm going to now look into doing a membership where I can, people that are really interested in what I can help them with, I can focus on them in a membership program, hopefully ongoing. That's what I'm looking into at the moment. So if anyone is interested in helping me, letting me help guide them through next year, because I think we're going to have quite a lot of activity of all types next year. So I think there'll be a lot of people that actually need just a little bit of guidance to stay calm, stay positive, and that sort of thing.
Great.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Ginny. How about you, Mandy?
Yes, I have actually got a couple of really cool new things coming out, which I'll be presenting in the new year. And we'll be following through with traveling into Australia and doing some more of the bigger events through New Zealand again, doing some travel. I haven't traveled out for quite a while, actually, probably before COVID, really, when COVID hit and everything shut down. So I'm just starting to get back into that, and that I'm really excited about. The other thing is I have my book. If anybody would like to purchase a book or give one as a gift to somebody you love, it's got tools in there how to clear your family patterning and clear the ancestral lines. Way more in it than that, but yeah, that's basics of it.
Great.
Thank
What
you.
an awesome gift, eh? Very unique. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Ivy?
Well, my offerings are ongoing as a registered diploma holder in First Light Fluorescences of New Zealand. I'm available for consultations. So how the medicine works, if people are not already aware, is the essences work on the personality, soul, spirit. It works with personality, things going on, trauma, personal power centers, DNA, soul lessons, healers' essences, and shamanic essences. For people who are not familiar with First Light Fluorescences, they are non-psychotropic, so you can function normally as a person and get on with your everyday life and not be walking around in a state that you'd maybe rather not be in 24/7. Yeah. I've been working with that medicine for several years now, and I attribute a lot of that to where I've gotten today. I mean, I could have still made progress, on my path without it, but I would not be the person that I am today without that medicine. Yeah, it's not a crutch. It's a tool and an assistance and support for people who are stepping into their higher selves, who want to be the best version of themselves in this lifetime. And the medicine it's a 21st century medicine. So it's helping people step into their highest expression. Yeah. And I've had some remarkable results with my clients. It's mind-blowing. It blows my mind every day that I see how I see people evolving and stepping into their power. For example, one of my clients, her main power center is her throat, and the negative expression of that used to present as very fast talking, very scattered, very chaotic, and over the last 2 or 3 years that she's been working with me, she's got a very balanced, powerful voice now, and she's starting to really, and the throat chakra being linked with truth, she's really starting to own her truth now. So it's amazing the turnaround that I've seen in that example alone. So yeah, I love medicine. It's incredible. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my offerings for ongoing. Yeah, ongoing.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to be heading down to Christchurch in January, so I'll be teaching Reiki there on the 18th and 19th. It's Reiki level 1, so if anyone's interested, just let me know. And in January, much like Ginny, I'll be doing a membership as well, but it'll be specifically for distance healing. So it will be receiving a distance healing, just a 15-minute one, sort of once a week. So it's like just, keeping you consistent as a maintenance level. And so there'll be a membership option coming out for that. So watch this space. Exciting. Well, thank you so much. Beautiful, beautiful beings. Thank you for joining us at the round table. Thank you, Mandy, Ivy, Ginny. Thank you for your presence tonight and your wisdom that you've shared with our group and our listeners. Thank you. Namaste.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.